In Western horror, supernatural figures tend to inflict terror and strike fear because of an ancient curse or an overall mythology, keeping the trend of fantasy. In contrast, Southeast Asian horror is much more specific, grounding the supernatural in moral causality, with the notion of haunting the present being a precise means of seeking karmic retribution. For context, karmic retribution can be defined as the spiritual notion that karma has inevitable consequences, ultimately leading towards either good karma, which is based on deserving rewards, or bad karma, which is about receiving punishment. This means that the past does not simply intrude but demands repayment, transforming haunting into a means of retribution through which buried violence, colonial exploitation, or repressed moral failures resurface with a purpose. In the 20th and early 21st centuries, there was immense financial and cultural divisions across Asia, prompting a desire for an outlet to share concerns. Specifically, Thailand's cultural context was shaped by the 1997 Tom Yum Goong crisis. This event presented ideas of inequality, prompting films to explore this idea. With Thai films such as Shudder, there began a movement of Southeast Asian horror to present how the upper class neglected the poor. Moreover, the political climate was ever more divisive from the 1970s to the present, which demonstrated the impact of Thai state censorship. This became a focal point in films such as The Medium, where these censored ideas returned through ghastly forms. Lastly, this usage of repression and cultural memory aligns with the tenets of folk horror, represented as a subgenre that centers around isolation, rural settings, ancient beliefs, and the intrusion of the past in the present. Both films utilize a supernatural past to represent moral and cultural debts haunting Thai society, reflecting present-day anxieties in a polarized world. While both Shudder and The Medium utilize present-day anxieties and governmental censorship combined with folk horror, they fundamentally challenge the Western definition of supernatural horror by presenting specific, recognizable fear of karmic retribution. While Shudder uses karmic retribution on an individual scale, demonstrating how personal guilt inevitably materializes, The Medium centers around the repressed past of a post-colonial society, focusing on how a disregard for care expands karmic logic to a collective scale, further manifesting in beliefs of shamanism and black magic. This creates a unique perspective in contrast with the Western horror media. Overall, both of these films present a need for change, as the failure to honor past trauma guarantees a ghostly search for karmic retribution in the present.
To begin, I want to talk about the film Shudder. The character of Nader, who haunts Tun, serves as a means of karmic retribution for his repressed guilt throughout the film. To better understand this haunting, I turn to Brenda S. Gardner-Walter's article, Ghastly Transmissions, the Horror of Connectivity and the Transnational Flow of Fear. Walter argues that modern horror has been transformed by digital technology, whether with phone or the internet, creating a transnational matrix of fear. Today, ghosts don't simply haunt an individual's house, but rather are saved memories, and Shudder is a direct example of this. Furthermore, Walter explores the idea that the ghost story, one local, has now spread globally, largely because of technology. The camera becomes a bridge of the past and preserves it for the present. Walter emphasizes that Nader, the film's true victim, refused to remain sequestered in the dark attic of the mind crypt, and thus, the ghost in the photo forcibly and violently bursts forth, demanding remembrance. Nader is not simply wreaking havoc, she has become an inescapable consequence of Tun's own actions, returning through the very technology he used to try and erase her. She enacts karmic retribution by embedding herself in every photograph, preserving his guilt. Walter's framework emphasizes that contemporary horror, such as Shudder, incorporates past traumas and local folktales preserved through modern technology. While Walter expresses that Nader forcibly and violently burst forth, the director utilizes specific formal techniques to translate this karmic weight into a physical reality. One of the most impactful shots in Shudder is when it is revealed that Nader has been sitting on Toon's shoulder, showing karmic retribution in a visual sense. As the directors utilize the film technique of mise-en-scène and editing, they orchestrate the camera to have a close-up on the developed photograph of Toon's body, hunched under an invisible weight, but then the truth comes through. Nader has been clinging on to Toon the entire film. The scene serves as a comparison between the internal guilt and repression that is on his external reality. The scene is a visual representation of how the weight of his past has latched onto Toon forever. This depicts how he has been carrying the burden of guilt in the past, seeking karmic retribution for personal repression.
While Shudder focuses on the individual moral decay and haunting, The Medium shifts the narrative to a collective sense of guilt and serves as a representation of colonial terror and the karmic retribution of the past on a modern society. I first want to discuss Katarzyna Ankuta's article, From Folklore to Horror, where she argues that The Medium serves as a representation of how Thai horror transforms local beliefs into a visual spectacle that can be appreciated by a global audience. Ankuta emphasizes that the film is not simply a supernatural horror film, but rather a Thai folk horror incorporating animism, ancestral worship, and local practices, which creates a story that doesn't focus on jump scares, but rather on inherited trauma. I also want to discuss what Ankuta offers about the folk horror chain, which establishes four central elements: landscape, isolation, skewed belief and morality, along with a happening or summoning. In The Medium, the Asan region embodies nearly all four, but in ways specific to its culture. Asan is marginalized, but not because it is secluded or treated as a mysterious place, but because of economic inequality. As Ankuta establishes, it is not the land that contributes to the othering of Asan in Thai national imagination, but economic inequality that designates its population as the underclass. Along with this, Asan is believed to be a region where ancestral spirits are believed to be and where traditional practices are continued. This sets the stage and allows for the first three elements. However, the happening, which is the fourth, is complicated, and Kuda argues that there would need to be a drastic revision to the folk horror chain to fit this context because although the exorcism scene can be seen as the summoning moment, There was never a reason for Ming's possession in the first place. However, I disagree with this aspect of Nkuda's argument, because we do find reason for the possession. More specifically, due to economic and political struggles, the true horror of the region is not due to quote-unquote black magic, but rather the vengeful spirits that have taken over Ming serve as a representation of a past left unacknowledged by those who exploited them. The film's avoidance of giving specific moral logic makes absence itself meaningful, forcing viewers to see the possession as a product of structural forces. It's also important to recognize the visual and narrative aspects of the medium. The medium sets itself apart from other folk horror films as it utilizes the found footage genre to depict the repressed past of a post-colonial society, specifically utilizing non-genuine shamanistic rituals rather than specific devotion, leading to an uncontrollable reckoning of the past. The failed exorcism perfectly demonstrates this. The ritual is staged as if it could be surgical, to find the spirit, perform the rite, expel the harm, and restore balance, but the ceremony collapses into chaos, and the shamanic rites fail. Ultimately, this failure exposes the limits of ritual technique along with the breakdown of cultural systems that might have once made these rituals effective. The film suggests that if protection depended on communal faith and reciprocal care for ancestors, those conditions were no longer held. The spirits returned because the living could not honor the debts owed, creating an opening for bad karmic retribution. I also want to add on to this notion of weakness in belief, specifically in the final scene when Nim questions whether she was ever truly possessed by the goddess Bayan. It's important to note that throughout the film, Nim served as a pillar of faith, but in the interview she appears exhausted. The scene serves as a shocking reveal that Nim is uncertain if the ritual will work. She grapples with the idea that if she was ever truly possessed by Bayan, and with the scene ending of hearing Nim's quiet sobs in the background, we are left alone with the sound of her broken faith. This scene is effective because it demonstrates the importance of belief. Do we believe in a higher power? Is there a way to fight the evil or the karma that plagues us? Is there hope? This shift from Nim being confident in her religion to this side of her is incredibly vulnerable. Her breakdown shatters the film's last line of spiritual defense, implying that the evil was not just powerful, but perhaps obsolete. This adds to the notion of a failed collective belief, because when your pillars falter, so will the rest of the structure. Comparing the medium to Shudder, we fully grasp both films' interventions. Shudder is a more intimate portrayal of karmic retribution with a discrete act, a specific perpetrator, and a discrete victim. Moreover, the camera in Shudder serves as an archival memory that keeps the personal crime and enables the ghost of Nader to seek recognition and retribution against Dun. On the other hand, the medium enlarges this frame, and the haunting is no longer individual but plural. The victimhood is historical, and the collective karmic retribution is based on a systemic struggle of the past. Both films serve as a similar purpose of having ghosts enact a plot for moral and social debt, but on a different scale. While both Shudder and the medium serve as representations of the importance of confronting and honoring the past, Shudder focuses on a personal haunting stemming from repressed guilt of hiding Nader's rape, manifesting an vengeful spirit attached to Atun's life. The medium centers around the collective haunting, where vengeful spirits symbolize a generational debt owed because of the exploitation of the ancestors of the Asan region. It's important to note that in Western horror, where religion often serves as a saving force, Southeast Asian films use localized religious beliefs that are not always successful in saving those possessed. And I want to leave you with this. The directors utilize local supernatural belief in shamanism and black magic as a representation of political and social commentary. Ultimately, this expresses that no matter the scale, the failure to acknowledge past trauma leads to its resurfacing, ensuring that a search for karmic retribution won't allow anyone to escape.